Hi everyone to the BGL monthly webinar. So this is our first one for 2024. So a bit of housekeeping as per normal. So today's session is recorded. So if you do need to share it with your colleagues or would like to watch it later, you will receive a link to that. And any questions you do have, please enter in there in the Q&A panel. We've got 4 BGL team members who are logged in and ready to answer any questions you do have. A format for today, so I'll be covering a BGL update in terms of what's changed so far in 2024. I'm joined today by CEO and co-founder of Smart SMSF, Aaron. So Aaron, welcome. And what will you be covering today?
Thank you, Jeevan. Welcome. So last week we had the Audit figures released, and that naturally has an impact on some of our contribution caps from 1 July 2024. So I'll give a bit of an update there and obviously what's been happening within Smarter SMSF as well.
Sounds great. And as per normal, if you've got any questions directly for Aaron and myself, enter them in the Q&A panel and we'll cover those at the end. Okay, so let's jump into, first of all, the BGL update. So far this year, we've released 2 updates there on the 1st and 2nd of Feb. And our next one will be in a couple of weeks' time there on the 14th of March. So what I'll be covering there is, for anyone who has intended these webinars for, is just the key changes in those particular updates. So let's go to the first one there, which is the audit management screen. So this was obviously added in the previous update, and we've done some enhancements going forward. So let's go through and have a look at how this works within SimpleFund. So jumping across here to SimpleFund 360, the first thing I'll do, I'll go across to our workflow screen. So it's not mandatory to use the audit management in conjunction with the workflow, but I just wanted to give you the background. So something we looked at, I'll go maybe to this one here, is for an annual SMSF job that is created, is we looked at trying to where we could possibly automate things in terms of automating statuses and where these statuses are tracked. So what we looked at first of all here is within, say, work papers and lodgement, we could automatically update these statuses when those particular tasks were completed, let's say on the work paper screen and across on the tax return screen in terms of lodgements. But we didn't have any information in terms of the audit process. So that being said, like once the fund was sent out for audit, there was nothing that we knew in terms of what came back. So that's what triggered the change in terms of the adding the screen going through. So the new screen's found there under the compliance screen, so compliance audit management. So first of all, what we've done there in terms of our the screen itself in the last update is grabbing the details from the prior SMSF annual returns. You should see history for a fund based on there. So as long as the data was within the SMSF annual return, you should see who had audited, what the actual completion date was, any qualification details that we do have. So in terms of using this particular screen, there's 2 particular ways you can do it. And so first of all, I'll go across and cover this off. So when you go through and create entries, a record will be automatically created for that particular financial year that will be displayed there. So I can go across now back to the audit management screen, and you will see a record there automatically created. So there's a couple of things that will take place and go forward within there. Okay, so let's jump across into there. Okay, so if you've invited to audit as a user, you will see an option displayed at the top there to send them an email notification. So an option, and it is optional, is to actually send them an email and it says this particular SMSF is ready for audit. If you're connected to a few of our API partners, such as ASF Audits and Seamless SMSF, which are connected via our API, you will have the option there of actually sending again the request out to audit as we do go through. So what you have in here is manually being received is you do have the ability here to update the status of the audit as it goes through. So I'm just going to mark that as completed for the moment. Actually, I'll come back and I'll mark that maybe as query pending. Okay, so when the audit's complete, I could go in and mark it as completed, and it's completed with the completion date. Okay, and what that will do is automatically go through and update the SMSF annual return. So you won't need to enter those details in twice. They can be automatically brought through. You do have the option here of attaching items such as the completed audit documents for your record, so such as the audit report, management letter, trustee rep letter, etc., and bring that through and adding any notes. So that would be, in addition, let's say something that the auditor has raised that you'd like to look at before you go through the audit process for next financial year as well. What we're currently also working on, again, with the two partners I mentioned before, ASF Audits and Seamless SMSF, is where your firm is utilizing them as auditors, is the ability to push through the things like the completion date, the status in terms of updates of the status, etc., automatically back into Simple Fund 360 via API, so that you won't even need to manually update those items. They can be done automatically. And for some of the actually audit software partners, we've at least let them know that these options are available. So those audit partners, such as audit software, such as Cloud Office, for example, they have the ability there in the future to add in the same functionality, so they can update the status, completion date, they can insert documents, and they can go through and mark there as qualified. Going across there to the tax compliance screen, the other thing is when you go through and validate the return, you will see a message there if the status hasn't been marked as completed. It's just a warning message, so you can ignore that. And we've added an option to actually mark that as complete in terms of tricking that box and also clicking on the button and actually marking the audit status as complete as well. So it doesn't matter where you update the actual, say, audit date. Doesn't matter whether you do it here in the tax return or do it on the audit management screen, it'll automatically sync to the other place. The key thing is you won't have to enter it in twice as we go through. Okay, so jumping back to now PowerPoint. So the next thing we did is added the ability there to add some workflow options there for documents. So going there across to my documents screen. So if I find maybe a decent document, actually let's pick on this one here, the tax statement. So any document that you do bring up, obviously, if it's a document that matches our AI model, you will see a panel on the right-hand side like that. But for other documents, you can still utilize the same function. So there's a button there in the top right-hand corner. So if you see the purple document icon, if you click on that, you can go through and obviously it will generate tasks for you in terms of creating an ad hoc job. So a good thing with this was things that do take place randomly during the year. So where it's not through the annual job. So it might be member joining, going into pension phase, whatever you like. So our AI will suggest sort of tasks for you, and you can go through and customize these however you are, like adding additional tasks. I'm just going to add task 5 there, etc. So you can go through and do that and create a job if needed. So that's where you are utilizing our workflow module, and you like to bring that through and bring that through automatically there into the screen. Another tip there, if you are using our document screen and looking at sort of AI functions or rental statements, things like that, there is the feedback button here on the top right. So if you do click on that, let us know if there's any issue of the extraction that needs to be corrected. Our team can at least know what the document is, review that, and actually correct anything that needs to be corrected. So it doesn't matter what the type of document is, you can use that feedback button and push that through. Okay, so the next one there was Smart Docs and emails. So very similar is where the, so I'll go back one step. So if we go across to our fund dashboard, so a reminder that every single fund, trust, company, individual portfolio within our platform has a unique email address. So you can actually either yourself, an advisor, obviously a staff member, or the clients can actually utilize that email address to actually send through source documents that they require. Or if any emails you do receive from the clients and you'd like to store them as evidence, you can email them through to that particular email address as well, or forward them on. The Smart Docs engine will read those and then actually store those as an actual PDF as we go through there. So I'm trying to find the one that I had. Can't see it there, but it will be stored there as a particular a document as you saw before. So that means you can utilize it as part of the actual work paper screen, etc., and bring that through. So those particular emails can be going through. Again, if there's anything that comes through that then we don't actually read that correctly, please let us know, and obviously our team will jump on that and fix that up. So as you can see here, the example on the screen, it will come through as what you see there. An email's been sent through, and you can see there it's actually stored there. And you can see the icon slightly different. It's stored there as an email one. So that's something that can be utilized. So it's obviously the content that's we are storing there. Okay, so work papers. So we've added quite a few enhancements here across there into the work papers. So let's jump across and have a look at those. So for anyone who doesn't utilize our work papers at the moment, you find that under our reports menu. Obviously for our work papers there, they are built into the system and there's no additional charge for them. So I'll go through in this case and I'll generate the work paper pack for 22. So Aaron, you can be the reviewer. So that'll go through and obviously grab all the information in terms of the trial balance, general ledger, the information that's brought through, any documents that you've uploaded into the system and that we've recognized or automatically filed in the correct location, any of our services in terms of, say, our contract notes service or additional services, again, that data is brought through and automatically attached in terms of the filing. So going down now, let's go through some of the enhancements we've made here. So the first one here is we've added the ability here to generate a tax rec. So you can actually go through and add current amounts. So in this case, where it's not matching, so this might be due to an amount not paid or not met, that you can go through. I think I incorrectly put in by memory a supervisor levy or something previously. That you can go through and make sure that that matches. Accordingly, and go through and go through and make sure that attaches and save that. So that can be included there in the export by default. You can add in adjustments that whatever you'd like. I'll just put in, maybe like here, and correct that through. And obviously this one here is displayed in red, but where it is, whether it does match in terms of the exact dollar amount, it will then display in green in terms of that rec. So go through and obviously utilize that as part of the external work papers. Other couple of changes that we've made here, I'll go across to this one here, is we've added the ability to, where you have multiple documents attached. So maybe I'll go through here and I'll just attach a couple so we can reference those. Is you do have, where you have multiple attachments under the sub account, you do have the ability now to drag and drop and change order within the sub account as well. So previously that drag and drop in terms of changing the order was only found there. The other key thing is we've done in terms of reviewing the work papers and the amounts is you can now view the transactions which make up the amount directly here from the work paper screen. So I can click here on transactions and it's going to show me a quick list of obviously all the debits and credits. It doesn't show any additional information extending past that those particular ones there. But where you want to see additional information, let's say in terms of franking credits information, just remember you can click up top on the account view icon. So that's the icon that's up top here. I could go into the same thing and look at dividends, drill down into the transactions, and you can see it displays more information than what I saw previously on there. And you just click back on that account view button, which takes your place back to where you were. So you've got those particular options in terms of reviewing the transactions. The next one we've added into here is the ability to also attach URLs. So where you're here in terms of the document screen, you've got the ability here for URL, and I'll just copy there. So this is where you have documents outside of Simple Fund 360. Example is like SharePoint, Dropbox, Google Drive, and you don't particularly want to import the file, it's too big. It could even be something, for example, stored across on Smarter SMSF. You just want to reference a document and not necessarily import it, it's too big. So you can copy across there the URL. I'll just give a big number here, trustee, attach that through. So obviously in terms of the compiled work papers, so when you actually export the work papers, it won't be actually attached, the actual URL will be, but obviously it will still be referenced there in terms of the documentation. So you will have those options looking through into there. As I mentioned, when you go through back into exporting the entire work paper pack, all you'll see there is the actual if I go down, is the actual URL. You won't actually see, so next one, you won't actually see that, you can see there, you just see the URL, you won't actually see the document attached because obviously Simple Fund 360 doesn't have access to the actual document itself. So you'll see those particular ones. So that's the obviously attaching the URLs, viewing the transactions. And the last change I want to showcase there is obviously a new integration there with Tax Depreciation Australia. So they're an Australian company that obviously provide, as the name suggests, tax depreciation reports. So across there onto the property dashboard, you will see the option there for external service providers. So obviously a lot of the providers which are utilized here are the valuation providers, but we've now got the ability there to valuation providers, but we've got the ability there to obviously order depreciation reports from the providers listed there as well. So you can go through, connect through, and obviously order by their sites themselves. So obviously if I connect through there to tax depreciation one, will take me through the site in terms of being able to order. So they do offer that ability there Australia-wide. Oops, sorry, coming too fast. So I don't have a PowerPoint for this. So last feature I failed to show. So across in our last up there, we've added obviously our new smart reports. So you'll find them obviously under reports. So reports, smart reports, going through into that. So under here, obviously, if you've looked at the screen previously, you would have seen the statement of cash flows. But obviously on there now we can get the statement of financial position, operating statement, and everything there. You can obviously all three, as you can see there. So on the screen, you do have a few different options and functionality. So we do have the ability there to obviously view, let's say in terms of, let's start with the balance sheet. I think this one hasn't got it, but you can go into in terms of multiple periods. So you can go back up in comparison across 5 different years and see obviously a bit of history. This fund's only got 2 years worth of history, so it's a lot less few. But I know you can go even to comparison if you just want to view the current year. So I've dropped those two. For both the balance sheet and operating statement, you do have the ability there to view either detailed view or summarized, going through into those particular ones. And you can obviously change the financial years going through. So obviously with the operating statement, you've got the same thing that you can go through and obviously customize the period there. Let's start giving the statement of financial position. Same thing that you can drill down on amount. So let's say I'm going to go pick on this, maybe the Rabo one because it's less transactions. I want to see what makes up that amount. You can click on the little icon which displays next to the amount, and that'll filter and bring up the transaction screen and filter with the transactions which make up that particular amount. So you can still drill down and go further there. The next real key feature we've added is experimental with generative AI. So similar to that seen in ChatGPT, for those who utilize that, is you've got the ability now to analyze the balance sheet, operating statement, etc. So I just click on that button up top there. So what it does in terms of this, it actually sends a prompt to our engine saying that we want to review the balance sheet and giving it some parameters in how to review that. And what then the AI will view all these amounts that you see on screen, and then you will give you the response back in terms of what it deems the most, I suppose, adequate things. I suppose like all AI models, it's, I suppose, sometimes it works great and sometimes it's debatable in terms of the answers. So it still needs that human review. It's not there doing there. So what you can see on the right-hand side, it's giving an analysis back here based on the balance sheets in terms of the relevant categories. And I suppose just reporting in terms of any trends. And obviously this one here is not very exciting, but any trends that do take forward. You'll see some of the topics here are highlighted, so you can actually click on that and it will highlight where is it referencing, so you can actually see the ones there that is going through. And then obviously with that analysis there, this can be a great value add. So again, similar to Aaron mentioned, we were there at the SMSF Association conference last week, and obviously showing this to a lot of firms. You know, they mentioned that it would be a great value add they could take through. So with that, you've got a couple of options here. You can actually copy that response to a clipboard, let's say put it into Word or something, customize it to your liking and make it match your language. You can also ask questions back to it. So you've got some option here, like if you'd like to, in terms of canned responses, you could say, ask me, please write this as an email to the client, and it would, again, take that and make that as a, you can do that, make that as a response back. But as this generates, what you can also do is ask questions back to it. So the questions you can answer are only as good as the information you see there on screen. So I couldn't ask, for example, age-specific questions yet around, let's say, here, Lois and Peter. I couldn't say, at age 70, etc., what do I estimate their balance is going to be? It's not going to be accurate because it doesn't know their age, and the only history it has is when it's on stage there. So you can see now it's given us an synopsis there, or a sample email. Again, you can customize that. You could ask questions back too. So I could say something like, what are the top 3 top points? So I'll go through and send that through. So again, it's going to look at the initial response, look at all that and say, well, rather than sending all the information, that's too much. I just want the top three points. And you see here is that you return what are the top 3 points. So you can ask questions sort of back at it going forward. So let's go through. We'll have a quick look at the operating statement one. So with the operating statement one, very similar, just the same button. So it's going to form the same set of analysis. It's looking at any trends, comparison of period, etc. And this is something I should point out too, is when you're based on the comparison period you have selected here is based on the analysis that the AI will do. So say, for example, you have it open, the comparison period open for 5 years, the analysis that the AI will do will be over 5 years and not just obviously what is there. So hence why I said, whatever you see on screen there is based on what the analysis will do. So, you know, on the information you do there. And obviously the more information you have, the better it will be. So if you do any feedback on this, please let us know. We are looking to obviously speed this up so it can be instant and be as fast as possible. So you can see here, it's giving the analysis there on the operating statement as we go through there. And then obviously you can ask, as I mentioned, questions back. We've got this CAN one here, ELI 5. I only learned what this was a few weeks ago, so don't feel like you don't know what this is and you should know. So that ELI 5 stands for explain like I'm 5. So rather than putting in accounting terminology, as you see there, it'll try and simplify the language so that someone who doesn't even have a financial background, whatever, will go through. So you can see here it's now summarized that, but it's given some very basic background. So that could be, again, for those clients who are not as financial savvy, that like an explanation of what's going on, you can see the information, I suppose, there and utilize that. So again, have a play around with that, go through. Like always, if you click on the feedback there, give us any feedback you'd like to know. A couple of things there based on some of the feedback we've had so far. We've got obviously the trial balance view, which is the same as the account view I showed before. We are working on, which will be in a few months' time, a brand new trial balance screen, which will be added into here. So this is really just a stopgap at the moment. So we will look at that, and we will be adding a general ledger as well. So they're two of the things that do come through. Based on some of the questions, I guess a couple of tips and tricks. We have some people who said they're entering in transactions or reviewing transactions and would like to review the transactions a lot quicker. I'm going to say the trial balance a lot quicker. So just remember, as I showed before, two things without leaving the screen is you can go to that account view to quickly review it. Or if you go across to the reports option here and click on one of these quick access ones, that'll generate the report without leaving what you're in. So for example, if you go to across here to reports, trial balance, that'll open up the trial balance in a new tab. And you've got that there and you can review that quickly whilst not losing your place in wherever you were. Let's say if you're in the middle of editing a transaction, you do have that there. So just a couple of tips and tricks there, but we will be obviously, as I said, adding the trial balance and GL to those as well. Go back now to last two slides. So coming soon, what we're currently working on is connecting through to open banking here in Australia. So obviously, I think we've touched on this over the last 6 months, but it's I suppose the real key benefits in terms of bank feeds is we can get access to every single bank in Australia. It's secure and legislated by Treasury and maintained, I suppose, managed by the ACCC. What we actually get is historical data going back to 2017 and 2018, includes both open and closed accounts. And we can get all bank account types. So it doesn't matter if it's a TD, loan, whatever it might be, every single thing can be accessed. So we will have more announcements in coming month. Very last one before I hand over there to Aaron is we are running our masterclass sessions around the country. So I suppose in Adelaide, Perth, Sydney, Brisbane, and Melbourne. So if you go to our website and just look up to masterclass, I think it's bglcorp.com/masterclass. It's got all the details there, and you can book the ticket. We will be also running, for those who can't attend live, can't obviously get to the capital cities or can't make those dates, we will be running a web session of this post the Melbourne one. We just haven't announced what that date, we'll finalize what that date will be yet. So look out for that. In terms of actual content, we've got a lot of the actual content will be there on screen, so on the website. But a lot of it's really just how do we get the most out of, say, Simple Fund 360 and Simple Invest 360? What's best practice? Am I using those particular tools? So a lot of that is really focused on what I said there in terms of best practice. Okay, so I'll hand over now to Aaron, and I'll just give it.
I think we're
Aaron
good.
Should have access now.
Yep. All right. Excellent. Make sure I can actually see that. Oh, there we go. Yeah. Excellent. Thank you, Jeevan. Well, I won't be doing this part of the presentation in Eli 5. So just to make that clear. But what I am going to touch on to start with is the fact that one of the big talking points at the national conference last week was the fact that we had final confirmation of the Audit figure, in essence wages, that from 1 July 2024 will mean that we will see an indexation of the concessional contribution cap. So if we focus on the left-hand side first, one of the key things that we needed to track was the fact that we had a target factor that we ultimately needed to get to. And the view was, because last year when we saw the transfer balance cap jump, we were closely watching and trying to understand whether we saw wages growth was going at a similar pace or not. And it did fall short, but not that far short. So it was almost a guarantee, ultimately, that we were going to end up in this position. And as you can see there, we needed an Audit figure of around 1840, and the actual figure that was released last week was around 1889. What does that all mean, Eli 5? It means that the $27,500 concessional contribution cap limit will increase to $30,000 from the 1st of July 2024. Now, the only asterisk in there would be whether the government wanted to put a freeze or something on that in the budget. We haven't heard anything to that effect. So we move on the basis that that is naturally going to increase. What we also know is that our non-concessional cap is linked to 4 times the concessional contribution cap. So therefore, our non-concessional contribution limit grows from $110,000 now to $120,000. And as you can rightly understand, it means that our bring forward will also change from $110,000 being $330,000 to $120,000 being $360,000. So let's now move to the right-hand side here and look at the transfer balance cap. And we did see late last year, the CPI figures effectively confirm that the transfer balance cap will remain at $1.9 million. Now, we did see a double jump last year. So I guess if you think about it practically, well, we did get a jump in essence much earlier than we had anticipated. We never saw a $1.8 million amount. But it is important to recognize the differences between the two. Our transfer balance cap links itself to CPI or inflation, whereas our concessional cap to make contributions is linked to wages. So therefore, we need to follow the different statistical information that is released by the government to determine those 2 factors. So because the fact that we didn't have an increase in the transfer balance cap, and we did have an increase in the contribution cap, it does now also adjust the thresholds for eligibility with the bring forward. So when we look at the phase in respect to applying the bring forward, we now need to adjust by that additional indexation of the non-concessional contribution cap. So you can see here, if we start at the bottom first, is probably the easier way to go, is at $1.9 million or more, as is the case right now, there is no ability to make a non-concessional contribution. So in essence, the available cap space is nil, and any amount above that amount would be deemed to be an excess non-concessional contribution. Then what we had seen previously is that we had these increments of $110,000 that would drop us down. So what was 1.79 to 1.9 million, in essence, means now that we have a 1.78 starting figure rather than 1.79. And that, in essence, allows us to do a 1 times cap. And as you can see, we move up to a 2 times cap. And now we need to be less than $1.66 million rather than $1.68 million for that 3-year bring forward to apply. And again, you can see there, subject to those TSB thresholds at the 1st of July in those relevant years, will dictate whether we can do 120, 240, or 360. And again, just note that these are changes effective from the 1st of July 2024, not in the current year. And that does flag also some important considerations when we think about contributions being made into a superannuation fund. And I just want to give you this example here to help highlight the importance of this relevant situation, because if we have a circumstance where a client is already within a bring forward period, so in this instance here at 30 June 2022, we had the member that had a TSB at 1.47 million and they were eligible to trigger a 3-year bring forward period because the contribution, the non-concessional contribution they made in that year was greater than 1 times the NCC cap. So they made $150,000 NCC, as you can see, because it was greater than $110,000, they in essence triggered that 3-year bring forward period. But as we know, they haven't utilized the entire amount of 330,000, so they can utilize that additional 180,000 over the remaining 2 years, but subject to their total superannuation balance falling within the allowable thresholds. And we did see during that period a TSB change from 1.7 to 1.9 at that point in time. So we get to that following year and we then see here the opportunity to contribute a further amount. And then when we get to the final year, what is important to note here is that the opportunity to contribute is not based upon $360,000, i.e. the amount of the indexed value that is going to apply from the 1st of July 2024, but rather we are required to be limited by the cap that was available at the time that that 3-year bring forward period applied. So in essence, where you have a client that has triggered the bring forward rule prior to 30 June 2024, and they're either in a 3-year or a 2-year period, we need to see out the current threshold at either 330,000 or 220,000, where that may have been the case. So there is no ability to get an uplift from the indexation until we get to the point in time in the future where that bring forward period is ultimately reset. So that's the most important takeaway there for you as you start to look at planning your clients' contributions, naturally noting that we have clients that have the ability to contribute all the way through to age 75 now as well, with those changes from a couple of years ago. So what other things will change as a result of this indexation of the contribution cap? So there are a number of areas that will be influenced by this with contributions and thresholds. So the first one will be around superannuation government co-contributions. We are also going to see an increase to the CGT contribution cap. Naturally, that relates to the sale of small business assets and so forth. The low rate cap, we'll see an indexation of that. Noting, however, that from the 1st of July 2024, we are going to see preservation, in essence, become age 60. So from that point of view, the question mark there exists, or will the low rate cap, in essence, become redundant? Arguably, that is going to be the case. And then you can see here, we'll see some adjustments around redundancy tax-free thresholds and the superannuation guarantee maximum contribution base. So they're mostly the items that I wanted to focus on from that point of view. The other thing from, I guess, internally at Smarter SMSF is we've spent a lot of time not only updating and rebranding our SMSF, our former SMSF course that we've had a number of BGL clients work through the learning channel, but we now have also our SMSF Foundations course. Now, this is currently being added into the BGL Learning Channel. Some of you might have seen this webinar that I did with Norman recently. So that is on the BGL channel if you want to go and find out more a little bit about that. And we have on the BGL website some information about our Smarter SMSF courses as well. We apply a fairly simple approach. So our view when it comes to these courses is starter, smarter, smartest. So we have developed these in a way where it takes students on an education journey. And therefore, as you can see on the right-hand side here, we do have different target audiences for different courses that are available. Our Essentials course, in essence, like I said, we've had 400, 500, 600 students obviously go through that. That has been recut to some extent to now operate at an intermediate level, as opposed to our Foundations course that is fantastic for onboarding new graduates, administration staff, and the like. So, and both of these are used internally at BGL as well. The other significant item that I wanted to also incorporate into today's conversation is that when someone completes either the Foundations course or the Essentials course, and whether it's done via Smarter SMSF or done via the BGL Learning Channel, we have now arranged with the SMSF Association as one of their accredited educators a period of complimentary membership. Now, I say period of complimentary membership because up until the 31st of March each year, that is the anniversary period. So someone that completes the course today, one of those two courses, if they complete the Foundations course, they would get a 12-month, or in essence 13 months right now, complimentary affiliate membership valued at around $260. If you complete the Essentials course, you get a 12-month associate membership to the course, to the SMSF Association, valued at around $560. So there's a significant amount of benefit there, in essence, doubling the value of each of those courses. So if that is something of interest, I suggest you go to the new updated BGL SMSF, Smarter SMSF courses page, and there's all the detail that you need to know on the breakdowns of those. Once we sort of move on from the release of the foundations course here as well, we then are finishing off our Starter Smarter Smartest model and looking at our SMSF advanced course. Naturally, those that are looking to a level of specialization, and we're working again with the SMSF Association around recognition of prior learnings, and then potentially even incorporating things like the SSA exam into that process. So we're hugely excited about the work that we've done in here. And again, if you want to find out a little bit more, I ran a webinar a week or so ago with Norman that covers off more detail about how you can access that from the BGL Learning channel. From the Smarter SMSF point of view, again, at the SMSF conference last week, we spent a lot of time talking to a range of these things that we've now rolled out. One of those is the fact that we have now incorporated into our platform the ability for certain documents to obtain legal review. So you may want to, in circumstances, want to have that legal sign-off supported with a certification, in essence, to say that I've gone through a deed upgrade, or I've gone through a change of trustee, or we've even had a binding death benefit nomination prepared. And these now are all built in to those forms, and you get to, in essence, choose the different type of review that is available. So do you want a scope review that just has, I guess, a look at a number of the documents and the order form itself to ensure that that's been correct? Or do you want something that is more comprehensive because you've got a multiple sequence of changes, upgrades and things that have occurred? And then the final one there in the bespoke review is that arguably that there are problems, there might be a missing deed, there are documents that are not executed. So therefore, that bespoke review will then look to incorporate rectifying that as part of the process as well. So we've got some information now up on our website as well that you can go and have a look at there, the smartersmsf.com/legal review. One of the other things, Jeevan did speak about the fantastic work that BGL is doing around the AI. We're also spending a fair bit of time at the moment in that space. So with our courses, in addition to having the reading materials there, we are loading in to AI as well, the ability for you to ask questions as you are learning. And then we are similarly doing that on a number of documents. So trying to understand processes about within the deed, how we need to maybe add a member or remove a member, or what the requirements are in paying a pension, powers under a specific deed, so on and so forth. And again, just a couple of reminders, we do naturally have our ABN and TFN there that we do see quite regularly being utilised with our fund establishments. We do have our end-to-end integration now with the pension commencements, both in the context of ordering pensions originally, but also our two-step process whereby you might not yet know the balance and then you want to produce documents, but then once you have had that balance confirmed, you can drag that data down out of Simple Fund 360 to, in essence, create those pension documents once the account balances and the financial statements have been prepared. We've also got function now around CSV import. So if you've got different pieces of software that you want to be able to start the journey on, you can use that to generate from a single data file. And we're looking at that even from deed upgrades and then also our doc flows. So again, looking at processes internally for you to be able to utilize a workflow across a number of documents, such as a new company, then that data moving in to create your new SMSF, and then naturally the data going into your ABN TFN, and then even into death benefit nominations, investment strategies, and more. So there are a whole range of stuff that we're currently working on. Whilst Jeevan's getting on the road, we are also doing the same thing. Our SMSF days are coming up very soon. You can see the dates on the screen there. Adelaide and Perth, we kick off in a couple of weeks' time, and Sydney, Brisbane, and Melbourne. BGL is naturally one of our main event partners, as they have been since we started these events in 2015. So you can again jump on the website smartersmsf.com/SMSF day there. You can apply the coupon code SD24BGL, and that will take 15% off the standard ticket price. We talk about all the Division 296 stuff, some of that analysis around whether money should be taken out and how we need to maximize that in the process. We'll be looking at the NALI and NALI requirements, technical update, and much, much more. So again, the full agenda is there online, and you'll hear from both myself and Tim Miller. And I guess, Jeevan, just to wrap things up, if people have any questions about getting started and stuff, again, you can go into your software, get started. You can simply order, choose a document package, if the subscription is right for you, and then literally get underway. And if you've got any questions, you can get in contact with us at the Smarter SMSF.
No, so I guess we'll bring the webinar to a close then. Thank you everyone for attending. Aaron, thank you for your time.
Pleasure. Thanks, mate.
If you do have any further questions, you can contact either BGL Aaron directly. You will get obviously all our details in the email which is sent out. You will get a copy of today's slides and a link to today's recording. So thank you for attending, and look forward to seeing you next time. So see you everyone.
Thanks everyone. Bye for now.